Welcome, students. Let us start the fourth unit today of industrial psychology. In the fourth unit, three important chapters are there. First one is efficiency at work, the concept of efficiency, work curve, characteristics of work curve, work methods, and fatigue and boredom. The second part deals with the personal factors that affect work, like age, interest, job satisfaction, work environment, noise, illumination, atmospheric conditions, how to improve efficiency, how to improve work methods. And the last one chapter deals with time and motion study, its contribution, failure to resistance to time and motion studies, need for allowance in time and motion study. So today let us start with an important concept, that is efficiency. Efficiency and effectiveness were originally industrial engineering concepts. Later, management theories like Frederick Taylor and Frank and Lillian Gilbreth designed time and motion studies in order to improve efficiency. Work simplification is also a terminology that is used, like how fast can we do the task. The concept of effectiveness, which takes into consideration creating value and pleasing the customer, became popular, and therefore Americans perceive Japanese products such as cars and electronics offer greater value and quality. So, what is effectiveness and what is efficiency? Efficiency and effectiveness were originally industrial engineering concepts that came of age in the early 20th century. As I told you, Frederick Taylor and Frank and Lillian Gilbreth designed time and motion studies primarily to improve efficiency. So, what is efficiency? Efficiency is doing things right, and effectiveness is doing the right things. So, this is very important. We have to remember. So, once again, I repeat, efficiency is doing things right, and effectiveness is doing the right things. For example, when there is a company and they are very perfect in that, in the products that they manufacture. So, so the company was very efficient in handling the operations, but the company's strategies were not effective. I mean, they were not taking right decisions, but the company was performing well internally. So, now let us start the concept called efficiency. Efficiency at work increases productivity and become highly efficient. So, the habits through which we can become so is, first one is to focus on most important task first. In order to be efficient, in order to do the things right, you have to just sort out what are the important things to be done. And second one is cultivate deep working habits. You have to go to the root cause of the problem and then start working. So, this kind of habit to be developed. And the third one is keep a distraction list to stay focused. There are few things which usually distract a worker. Like nowadays, you have smartphones, or maybe a call from a friend, or maybe something which usually distracts an employee. So always you have to prepare a distraction list and then you have to stay focused. And fourth one is individuals need to achieve the assigned targets within the desired times. Then only you can be efficient. When employees supervisor gives you the targets, you are supposed to do complete the targets within the designed time frame. So therefore, with these four habits, you can actually become an efficient employee. Every organization pays its employees for their hard work and efficiency. Individuals need to achieve the assigned targets within the desired time frame. It is essential for employees to meet deadlines and deliver results on time. Why would an organization promote you if you do not accomplish tasks? Employees need to be efficient and proactive for better productivity. So employees need to get their work done on time to expect timely appraisals and appreciations from not only managers but also external clients. Sometimes delaying work leads to no solution. One needs to adopt a systematic approach to be efficient at workplace. Do not start a new task unless and until you are through with your previous assignments. Employees tend to be efficient when they take their work seriously and do not treat it as a mere source of burden. Efficient employees work hard to complete their task, means the company gets more work completed for the same hourly pay rate. If employees are bored with their work or do not feel motivated to complete the task, the efficiency in the office may decrease, deadlines may be pushed. Creating efficiency at workplace by paying attention to employee interruptions and encouraging professional motivation can be cultivated in the organization's environment. So here there are few tips on how to create an efficient environment. Identify the reason why employees are not being efficient at the workplace. Limit interruptions for employees. Examine the job requirements. Assign mentors to inspire. Allow employees to take mental breaks. Reward employees. The first one is identify the reasons why employees are not being efficient at the workplace. It may not be one single reason. Some employees are less efficient because they are bored with the work in question, while others delay it as a habit. Talk to the employees, learn about the reasons, and also improve the efficiency. Second one is limit interruptions for employees who have a hard time focusing on this task after being pulled in various directions. Allow periods of concentration without interruption, especially if the tasks have approaching deadlines. Employees who are frequently interrupted may give up on getting work done in the office and simply wait for the next interruption. Third one is examine the job requirements. For those who tend to lend a helping hand in the workplace, efficiency may be lacking because employees are pulled into different directions and assisting on various projects without a real focus on the task at hand. Delegate responsibilities diligently so the employees can work together. Next one is assign mentors to inspire. Inspire those employees who are bored with the daily work routine or for those who need some motivation. A mentor shows employees the importance of their work and provides motivational exercises. Fifth one is allow employees to take mental breaks, whether it involves getting a cup of coffee, reading an article, or simply turning off the telephone ringer. These breaks separate concentrated periods of work. Reward employees. Reward employees who actually do outstanding or excellent work at the workplace. Applaud them, give them internal newsletters, applauds, or give them plaques for hard work and for the contribution they made to the workplace. Gaining recognition may motivate employees to work harder and also set example for others. So therefore these are few tips that can be used for improving efficiency at the workplace. Going further today, let us do one important concept called work curve. What is a work curve? So, a work curve is nothing but a recording of the amount of work done in each successive part of a prolonged period of work. It's a graph showing the level of performance against time spent at work. It shows the effects of fatigue and other variables over a period of time. So, a worker's particular level of motivation has a direct bearing on his productivity and feelings. A graph showing the level of performance against time spent at work is called work curve. It also shows the effect of fatigue or boredom and other variables over a period of time. So work curve is nothing but it's a recording of the amount of work done, amount of done in each successive part of a prolonged period of work. So here this is the graph of work, output and time. This is the output on the y-axis and this is time duration. So when you look at these curves, you can see that here we can find three types of curves. Depending on the nature of the task involved, some of the major types of work curves are simple muscular work curve, complex muscular curve, and mental curve. So here this is simple muscular curve where the output, if it is continuously when the time is increasing, the output is getting decreased. This is simple muscular curve. So it is derived by recording the units of output of a group of muscles against the force of some weight. As can be seen in this curve, from a simple muscular task shows a short warm-up period followed by a high level of performance, after which a gradual tapering appears here. Subsequently, a sudden drop occurs to a point of complete exhaustion. Such work curves resemble motor curves, but they involve simple coordination and fewer muscles. From a study of such curves, it can be concluded that the more complex and rapid the task, the faster is the rate at which fatigue sets in. Moderate tasks allow a greater total amount of work before complete exhaustion occurs compared to heavier tasks. Each person has his own work curve. It is possible to match the worker to jobs whose energy requirements are approximately similar to his own. Knowledge of a person's work curve allows the scheduling of activities and rest pauses that suits his requirement. The second one is complex muscular curve here. In this figure, you can see that the amount of work done per unit of time is a complex muscular task is in an industrial organization. There is an initial upward slope here, and then there is a warm up, rest, and then there is again an upward slope. But the rise showing the production peak is not as high as production peak achieved earlier. End of the day, it fails rapidly. So this is a complex work curve, muscular curve. Next one is mental work curve. This is the mental work curve. The mental work decrement occurs in speed, quantity, and accuracy of output like it did in muscular work. Work decrement in those tasks that require continuous attention is understood to be basically due to interferences known as blocks. These intervals become longer and more frequent with the progress of work. These lapses in performance are sources of mistakes, sometimes causing accidents. Blocking is nature's way of providing rest. Varied mental work can continue with few interruptions, but work requiring continuous attention will produce many blocks and as consequences. With the passage of time, a sharp drop in output will be seen, as shown in mental fatigue. Here, curve has no warm-up period. It shows a gradual but steady slope, emphasizing declaration at the later stage. So these are the various types of curve. Okay, simple muscular curve, complex muscular curve, and mental work curve. So these are the characteristics of each work curve. Mental work curve, work decrement, intervals are longer, there will be lapses, and then sometimes it lead to mental fatigue. Next topic is job design. What is job design? Job design is the process of work arrangement aimed at reducing or overcoming job dissatisfaction and employee alienation arising from repetitive and mechanistic tasks. Job design is nothing but to find out what is to be done by the employee. There is a big and comprehensive definition given by Michael Armstrong. Job design is the process of deciding on the contents of a job in terms of its duties and responsibilities. It is also on the methods to be used in carrying out the job, in terms of techniques, systems, and procedures, and the relationship that exists between the job holder and his superiors, subordinates, and colleagues. So here, you can stress on job design has three important characteristics. So it defines duties and responsibilities, it defines the methods used in terms of techniques, systems, and procedures, and it also discusses the relationships between the job holder, super, between the job holder and the superior, subordinates, or colleagues. So this is what is job design. So job design, why we need job design, what is the need for job design? In order to achieve efficiency we need job design. In order to motivate the employees we need job design. In order to improve the mental capacity we need job design. And also to for safety and health. So how can you design for efficiency? It is through industrial engineering, that is using motivational techniques, using many of the techniques what you have learned, you can design the job, you can improve the efficiency. Design for motivation, that is job enlargement, job enrichment, teamwork, and flexibility. Not easy. Job enlargement is nothing but vertical, sorry, horizontal loading of tasks to the job. When there is a job, more and more tasks are being added, responsibilities are added, it is called job enlargement. Whereas job enrichment is vertical loading of the job. With the vertical loading is nothing but more and more responsibilities are added to the job. And teamwork is nothing but when there is work in the organization, you try to divide the work based on the capabilities. And the last one is flexibility. The flexibility to do the job, flexible, giving flexibility to perform the task. And job design is for mental capacity, improving the mental capacity, removing unnecessary information, clear displays and instructions, memory aids when it comes to uh, physical or muscular work. Design for safety and healthy. Job design is important to provide safety and health to the employees in the organization. So a better design of the workspace arrangement is also required so that the job holder can perform the job on time without any hazard or any kind of accident. So therefore these are the reasons for designing a job. Once again, let us concentrate. Job design is about deciding the duties and responsibilities, the methods in terms of techniques, systems, and procedures, and also the relationship that exists between the job holder, superior, subordinates, and colleagues. Going further, if you want to understand job design, you have to understand job characteristic model. Hackman and Oldham, both organizational psychologists, developed the job characteristic theory and they introduced this in 1976. According to this theory, job design has an effect on motivation, work performance, and job satisfaction. It has served as a framework for management to identify how certain job characteristics affect the outcome of the job. When a person gets a job, there are certain characteristics. Because of those characteristics, the outcome is achieved. So, so in this, they developed a model, okay, which actually is the job design. In a more personal vein, it studies the various factors that make a specific job satisfying for the organization and for the person doing the job. Therefore, it describes the relationship between job characteristics and the responses of individuals to workers or the job performed. The job characteristic theory identifies five core dimensions that form three psychological states, which in turn lead to have an effect on five work-related outcomes. Out of this theory, the job characteristic model, which is still in full use today, was also introduced. The model specifies the conditions under which workers or individuals will be internally motivated to perform their jobs. Basically, this model specifies the conditions under which workers or individuals will be internally motivated. So here, when you look at this diagram, you can see that there are three psychological states, core job characteristic, critical psychological state, and outcome. So these are the five core job characteristics. What are those? Skill variety, skill identity, skill significance, autonomy, feedback from job. What is skill variety? What is variety? It refers to the degree to which a job requires a variety of different activities in carrying out the work, involving the use of number of different skills and talents. It follows that the individual will be required to develop a variety of talents and skills. This area asks the number of skills and talents that a job requires of a person that will be working on it. A quick giveaway would be to assess whether the job is monotonous or repetitive. Comparing two individuals at different jobs sometimes may help in identifying the skill variety. Then comes skill identity or task identity. The degree to which the job requires completion of a whole identifiable piece of work, that is doing a job from beginning to an end with visible outcome. This involves being able to work on an entire work process rather than just on bits and pieces. It is important to assess whether the job or task has a clear defined beginning, middle, and end. Workers tend to find more meaning in their jobs when they can identify a complete and visible outcome at the end of the day or of a work cycle. So, in fact, job process helps in identifying the task and skills. Then comes task significance. Task significance or skill significance is nothing but it is the degree to which the job has a substantial impact on the lives of other people, whether those people are in the immediate organization or in the whole at large. The task and the job is insignificant if it can affect other people's life. And it should not just be the people within the organization but even those outside. For many, a job holds more meaning if it can help improve the well-being of other people, whether physically, psychologically, or emotionally. Knowing that their job and the performance thereof has the capacity to have a positive impact on others will motivate them further. Individuals who put great stock on task significance are very keen on finding out whether the job that they are doing actually matters to other people. For them, meaning comes in form of recognition by other people. Next one is autonomy. The fourth important job characteristic is autonomy. It is nothing but the degree to which the job provides substantial freedom, independence, and discretion to the individual in scheduling the work and determining the procedure to be used in carrying out. Autonomy is often seen in positions with managerial, supervisory, and ministerial functions. Usually, autonomy is given to managers, team leaders, supervising officers, division, and department heads. These jobs tend to become more meaningful to the ones performing them because they feel greater personal responsibility. But it's not just limited to people in managerial positions. Even workers have a strong sense of personal responsibility if they are left to perform their tasks using their own efforts and initiatives. And they are allowed to make the decisions and call the shots. They'll definitely feel less of autonomy. They adhere strictly to what a job procedure manual provides. This will not help them feel responsible for their actions at all. And the last one is feedback from job. Job feedback refers to the degree to which carrying out the work activities required by the job provides the individual direct and clear information about the effectiveness of his or her performance. Workers would like to be kept in the loop of their performance of job. Not only will this keep them apprised of their progress as workers, it is also one of way for them to boost their self-esteem. If they are told by their supervisors or managers that they are doing a good job, they are likely to feel motivated or continue with how they are doing so far. If they are told that they are not performing as expected, then they will respond accordingly and improve their performance. So therefore, all these five characteristics are looped with one another. So when you look at this, skill variety, skill identity, or task identity or skill significance will lead to experienced meaningfulness at work. Autonomy leads to experience responsibility of the outcomes. Feedback will lead to knowledge of actual results of the work activities. And these five will lead to high internal work motivation, high growth satisfaction, high general job satisfaction, high work effectiveness. And the moderators in this whole model are knowledge and skill, growth needs strength, context, satisfaction. So therefore, job characteristic model helps in to achieve work motivation, growth satisfaction, and work effectiveness. So in order to study effectiveness at work, we have understood job design and also the various types of curve. So with this, I think today we will finish this lecture on job characteristics model framed by Hackman and Oldham. So when you look at this formula here, the skill variety plus task identity plus task significance divided by 3 into autonomy and feedback gives the result. So therefore, let us today recap what we have done. So we started with fourth unit and we discussed about what is efficiency and effectiveness, how are they different, how to be efficient, and what are the tips that create an efficient environment, what is a work curve, and what are the various types of curve: simple muscular work curve, complex work curve, mental work curve. And then we discussed about job design and what are the reasons for job design, characteristics of job design, and what are the three states and how this model works. And at the end, we discussed in detail each of these job characteristics. So, with this, let us today finish the lecture.